Emotions. They're pretty much the color of our entire human experience, right? They drive our decisions, they shape our memories, and they connect us to each other. But what are they, really? For something so fundamental to who we are, they can feel incredibly mysterious. Okay, so let's dive into this and try to unravel the science of how we feel.
So picture this. Your heart is absolutely hammering in your chest. Your palms are getting kind of sweaty. Now, are you walking down a dark alley late at night? Or are you at the very top of a roller coaster, just about to drop? The physical feeling is basically identical, but the emotion? Completely different. How can that possibly be? Well, that very question is right at the heart of what we're going to explore today.
To get to the bottom of it, here's our game plan. We'll start with what an emotion even is, then jump into the historic battle of theories about them. We'll take a look inside the brain's emotional control center, ask if emotions are a universal language, and then get super practical with a toolkit for managing them. And finally, we'll see how our digital world is changing everything.
All right, first things first. Before we can understand something this complex, we gotta have a solid foundation. So, what exactly is an emotion, according to modern psychology?
Well, it's not just one thing, it's more like a four-part process. First, you've got physiological arousal. That's your body's reaction, the pounding heart. Second is the subjective experience. That's the actual feeling of being happy or angry. Third, and this is so important, is your cognitive appraisal. That's how your brain makes sense of it all. And finally, there's the behavioral expression, what you actually do, like smile or run away. All four of these things have to work together to create what we call an emotion.
Now, figuring out that four-part definition? Yeah, that took a really long time. For more than a century, psychologists have been duking it out over how it all happens. So let's take a look at how our understanding has changed over the years.
It all kicked off in the 1890s with the James Lange theory, which had this wild idea. We don't tremble because we're afraid, we feel afraid because we tremble. The physical thing comes first. Then, the Cannon-Bard theory came along and said, nope, the physical reaction and the feeling happen at the exact same time. But the real shift came in the 1960s with Schachter and Singer, who said it's two things: physical arousal plus a mental label.
And this explains their point perfectly. In both of these situations, the physical feeling, that pounding heart, is exactly the same. The only difference is the label your brain gives it. In the dark alley, you label it a threat, and bam, the emotion is fear. On the roller coaster, you label it fun, and suddenly that same feeling is excitement. This idea that our thoughts literally create our feelings was a total game changer.
So, if our brain is doing all this labeling and interpreting, which parts are actually in charge? Let's zoom in on the biological hardware that's running our emotional software.
You can think of it like this. The limbic system is the engine room of your emotions. It's got the amygdala, which is basically your brain's rapid response alarm system for threats. Then you have the prefrontal cortex, which is like the control tower. It's the more rational part that steps in to regulate and make sense of those emotional signals. And connecting everything are the neurotransmitters. These are the chemical messengers, like dopamine for pleasure and serotonin for mood, zipping those emotional signals all around your brain.
Okay, now for one of the biggest, most fascinating debates in the science of emotion. Are our feelings a universal language, something that's just hardwired into our DNA, or are they something we learn from our culture?
For a really long time, the dominant idea, pushed by a researcher named Paul Ekman, was that there are 6 basic emotions, the ones you see right here. And the idea was that they're universally understood by every single human culture. A smile means happiness, and a scowl means anger, no matter if you're in New York City or a remote village that's never seen the outside world.
But more recently, that whole idea has been seriously challenged. Researchers like Lisa Feldman Barrett are now arguing that emotions aren't these pre-packaged universal things at all. Instead, they're constructed by our brain in the moment, using a combination of our biology, our past experiences, and really importantly, our culture and language. It just goes to show you, the science on this is far from settled.
Okay, so we've talked about what emotions are and where they might come from. Now for the really practical part. What can we do to manage them? This isn't about ignoring your feelings, but about understanding them and responding to them in a smart way. So let's open up your personal toolkit.
Here are 6 strategies that are totally backed by science. You can reframe your thoughts about a situation. You can practice mindfulness to just accept your feelings without judging them. You can take direct action to solve whatever problem is causing the stress. Leaning on friends and family for support is hugely powerful. So is just getting up and getting active to change your physical and mental state. And of course, you can always use relaxation techniques to calm your body down directly.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the difference between two very common approaches. Cognitive reappraisal, which is just a fancy way of saying changing how you think, is an amazing long-term strategy that actually lowers stress. But suppression, just trying to bottle it all up and ignore it, that often backfires big time. It can increase stress and even mess with your memory. The science is super clear on this. Working with your emotions is way better than working against them.
All right, to wrap things up, let's bring this all into the 21st century. How is our constant connection to our screens affecting how we feel every day?
You know, it's a real double-edged sword. On one hand, technology gives us some amazing new tools. We have new ways to find social support and apps that can genuinely help with things like mindfulness and emotional health. But there's a dark side too. Social media can become an echo chamber for envy and anger, and seeing a constant stream of perfectly curated lives can take a real toll on our own well-being.
So, after this whole journey through history, biology, and psychology, what's the one big thing to take away? It's this. Emotions are not just these mysterious forces that happen to us. They are a complex, multi-part process involving our bodies, our thoughts, and our actions. A process that we can absolutely learn to understand and manage more effectively.
And that leaves us with a final, really big question for the future. As technology gets even more tangled up in our lives, is it going to get more control over how we feel? Or can we actually use these powerful new tools to understand ourselves and our feelings better than ever before? It's definitely something to think about.